Om Shanti. It looks a little bit funny here without the chairs, but at least now we are closer to you. And so, yeah. Good. All right, most welcome. I'm sure it's going to be an interesting evening. As you know, the topic today is yogic diet, and we have been talking about this in the past. We have done a couple of sessions on how our diet should be. However, we wanted to take this a little bit further. Right? Last time we had Naina and Brother Hasmukh as the panelists, and there was some conversation about veganism, about antioxidants, right? But this time we want to take it further into veganism. The original yogic diet that we read about in scriptures was not veganism, actually. Was vegetarian, but animal products, specifically milk and milk products, not eggs, not poultry, not fish, but milk products were acceptable if you go back into scriptures. And the reason probably for that was at that time the way milk was extracted from the cows was much more humane, much more gentle, much more compassionate. In fact, Om Shanti, welcome. In fact, the scriptures talk about that the cows would be happy to give their milk. In fact, what is mentioned is the milk production when the cows are actually happy, when they are taken well care, lot of care, they are well cared for, they are loved, they get a life of freedom, a life of living the way they would like to, including taking care of their children, the cows. They actually produce much more milk, and therefore that is enough for the calf or calves as well as for other people in humanity. But over time our greed has taken over in every way and form. We want more, and that has destroyed the animal kind and womankind. So as of now, it just seems that veganism is the most natural way to move forward. Just seems. Here we don't mean to endorse one way of diet or over another. We want to make this as a very open sort of a session, just to bring certain facts, certain understandings to all of you. Some of you are already practicing it very avidly. Some of you are exploring it. Some of you probably don't know many of the facts. So what we want to do in this session sorry. So what we want to do in this session today is to involve, and that's the reason for inviting the special guests that we have today, to share with us, share with all of you some of their insights that they have learned in their practice of veganism, if you will, or vegetarianism. And after that, we will go through some of the videos which Magdal actually sent to us, which we will show to you. After which, there will be a little bit of deeper insights, veganism and beyond. You remember? We talked about veganism and beyond. So we'll talk a little bit more of that more and the beyond part. And then we will break into a little bit of small group discussions so that you all get an opportunity to talk among yourselves and share what you feel or what you think about this whole thing. All good? Sounds like a good plan for the evening? All right. So having said all this, now it's time for our panelists. So, Magdal, please. Let's welcome Magdal. All right. So, Magdal is originally from Romania, correct?
Poland.
Poland. Oh.
A little bit upward.
Right. Yeah. Polish people are considered to be super intelligent, including Marie Curie, right? Right? She was Poland.
She discovered chemical.
Yeah.
Brom and rad, they're like the old
Radium.
Radium. Yeah. In Poland.
Exactly. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Polish.
Poland,
Yeah.
So
Poland, yeah. That's amazing, huh? So she has been trying to explore veganism, and she.
If the animal has all the rights, they don't care about it. They see ready product, they see the money on their accounts, they want your money, they want to sell it. And all the big concerns and industry, they so manipulated right now, so they even tell you like drinking dairy milk gives you calcium, which is not true. If you look on the almond milk or the plant-based milk, they have enough calcium for you, even more. And there are studies that all actually the hormones that come with the dairy, with the milk, the hormones, the animal proteins, they actually wash off the calcium of your body. So in end effect, you think you put calcium in your body, but you get rid of the calcium. And this is the people how they end up getting like back bones at the end when they are 60, 70, they have a hips injuries, hips issues, because the calcium is gone from your body. You basically wash it off. So, and there's a lot of movies online from like professional people. They have education, they have like degrees, and they explain you like better way. Gives you like numbers and the oldest professional like names for it. But it's the truth. But that's the business, you know. They want you to be sick because then the pharmacy comes in. Once the meat industry is over, their job is done. Boom, the next industry is coming. Pharmacy, they selling you pills, they selling you medications. Doctors makes money of you because they want you to be sick. Who doctor wants you to be healthy? Nobody, because they will be jobless, right? If they wouldn't have a sick people, they will be jobless. So when I was reading, I don't know if it's true, but it's funny. For example, in China, you pay doctor to make you healthy, and I was reading that in China they pay doctor as long as you stay healthy. Because if you get sick, that he made a mistake or something wrong, right? Because the job is to get you like healthy. So, and that's how I get deeper and deeper on this topic about being vegan. And I mean, I must say it's really hard. Sometimes it's really hard because there are a couple things that you know from childhood, and it's really hard to get rid of, like cheese, for example. Cheese is a very big issue. That's the one way. You know why the vegetarian they never go vegan? Because of the cheese. Because they cannot give up cheese, and cheese is really hard to give up because it's hard to like. I still have a sometimes. I will be honest with you. I'm being 100% vegan. It's like you really don't touch those foods that you're not supposed to. But I kind of sometimes I have my days when I get weak and like I have sometimes slice of cheese. I'm not saying I'm like super holy here and I say okay I never touch it. I do it from time to time, but I like really try to like cut it off. And if I have, for example, some party, somebody invite me and they made a cake for me, like last time, 2 weeks ago, it was my birthday. My girlfriend, she baked a cake for me. I don't know, there were eggs inside. So I tried to be polite and nice. I wouldn't say, oh, I don't eat your cake because there's eggs. I did try it, why? But I always say, doing something is better than doing nothing. It's always progress. If you have a hard time to be vegan and people say I cannot give up on the meat, hey, try to say like, all right, like I don't know, like Christians, like Catholic, they say Friday you're not supposed to eat meat, you're supposed to eat fish or like give up meat, right? So you can start with this. You can say, hey, I got 2 days in a week. I try to avoid meat. I eat instead of vegetable or something else. And you can make small progresses, like step by step. And that's how I say to myself when I started. I was like, okay, I try to do it with the meat and stuff. I cut it off. But if I see my blood go down or my cholesterol go bad or everything goes crazy, I go back. I didn't say myself, you cannot. It's kind of like you say somebody, don't think about white elephant. You think about white elephant, right? Because somebody tells you, don't think about white elephant. So if you say to yourself, I don't eat meat, so you will all the time like, meat, sausage, bacon. You will be seeing all the people eating burgers, and you're like, oh, I cannot eat now, I'm vegan, I cannot eat it now, right? So kind of like make it easy, get it easy to yourself, and make it like experiment, gives you all the freedom you need to, and make it small in easy steps. So, an end of the story was basically that after 6-8 months taking my hormones, I went back to my doctor and she said, hey, you know what? Actually, your hormones went back to the norm. It looks like you don't have to take those hormones anymore. And I was like, oh, okay, so actually it worked. So I don't know, like my body kind of like get rid of the problem by themselves. I'm not saying I'm super 100% like healthy, but I make my checkups like when was last time, October, I have to go every 6 months to doctor. So my hormones are still okay. So I mean like I'm on the way to being more healthy and being more fit and stuff, because you can be also bad vegan. You can eat chips, you can drink beer, you can have like Oreo, everything is vegan. But you can still have like diabetes because of the all sugar you're taking in you. So you have to make a good choices being vegan. It doesn't mean that, you only chips and like bread or potatoes all day long. You'll be still like, having like issues with your health. So you have to like pick up the right choices for yourself. Yeah, and the other part of being vegan, like if you think like more to the future, because this is kind of like the selfish part, like you think about your body and yourself. But if you start being like thinking more about other ones around you, it's also the issue with the environment and how the agriculture like affect our environment, like how much water we have to waste to feed the cows, to feed the animals, to water the plants. They first have to grow up and have to be collected, and then they will get passed to the animals, and then they will feed with those, and then finally you get your meat, your beef and stuff. So how much water you have to waste to do it. And if you have a like issue with the third world where the people have no food, no water, where they walk 6 hours a day to get some water, we could help them instead of like pushing everything in the agriculture industry. Because, for example, I don't know if we're gonna see this movie. I found one. There's like the young people going about this topic too pretty oft right now. And for example, 5% of the water that we use is just a domestic issue, like your dishwasher, your laundry, you're taking shower. This is 5% of what U.S. for example use for the entire amount. But 55% usage of water go for agriculture. So how much water we waste, and how much, for example, in Amazon, the forest, how much of the Amazon forest is going to be cut off because we have to plant the corn, which we're going to collect and feed and ship and feed the beefs and cows and all the pigs and all the animals. That's like we try to, when we have a kids or when you have a grandchildren, you try to protect them and assure them like safety future. So you make account when you put the money for the college. You make the college account. You save the money for them. You try to build a house for them so they have a place to live, right? So you do a lot for your children. You're thinking for the future. But hey, if we destroy our environment, they cannot eat the house. They cannot eat the car. They cannot do anything with this. What we like saved it up for them, because we don't pass it by to the next generations. We destroy everything, and what they should do, they have to deal with our damage, what we did, plus we didn't leave them anything behind. What we leave them behind is only the issues and problems they have to deal in 20, 30 years. It will be like even worse and worse. So
Agreed.
Basically, we have to not only think about us being health right now, but also about healthy for our children and grandchildren, because that's the problem that's getting bigger and bigger, and that's what the vegans also fighting for. It's not only about people being healthy, it's also about our entire planet. We have so much waste we produce, plastic, everything goes to the oceans, and we collect so many fishes from the ocean. Like in couple years, and they were counting down, the ocean will be soonly empty because we collect everything out. And how much food we waste, how much food will be thrown away, like in the stores, for example. If its expiration date is going out, we throw everything away. So we produce so much food, and at the same time we throw away so much food. It's like wasting of our sources, our energy, our environment. And we have to think like a little bit more, a couple of steps forwards, and starting from small. Like there is a Chinese speech, they say, even the biggest journey start with a small step. So if we start doing something now, it's gonna collect more, and in the future we can finally see the results. So we cannot be selfish. We cannot only think about ourselves. We have to think about, everybody who's gonna live after we die. Because there will be. We want people stay here. We want our children having good future, right? So not only education, not only like having the material goods, but also, having nice
resources.
Nice environment, and have a forest and go to the park and could enjoy this what we're enjoying now, or try to keep right now. So
thank you, Magda. Thank you.
That's my point of view.
No, that's great. We'll come back to you in a little bit. We'll have more questions for you. But I appreciate your sharing with so much honesty your personal journey towards veganism and what you have achieved by doing that. And your insights, actually. Thank you very much. And so, Amy, we'll pass on the mic to you. Right, very good. Amy, yes.
Can you give me a pen and a paper if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. So we are recording. So if you can, then push your chair a little bit forward, not to or your perfect. Yeah, so the people will be able to see you.
Can I have permission to put my legs up?
Sure.
Because I really like to hold my legs.
That's called as half lotus pose. Thank you.
Everybody takes a deep breath. Deep breath. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Relax.
Om Shanti.
Peace be with you.
Thank you. Same to you.
I would like to greet you with this greeting, with the divine charms of my mind and the love and cordiality of my heart. I greet the divinity within you. Namaskar. My name is Amy. Spiritual name is Ambika. And do I need this?
Yeah.
Because we're recording too.
Okay. I started my vegetarianism one day in 1974, and there was a British yogi, a monk actually. He was young, and he was giving a lecture about what's wrong with eating meat. And in the middle of this talk, the question came, and I took it very seriously, and the question was, how would you like your stomach to be? Do you want it to be a beautiful garden of fruits and vegetables, or a cemetery of dead bodies? I was 18 years old then. Said, I don't want to have my stomach to be a cemetery of cadavers. So from that time on, I never touched meat. I did not touch fish, anything with eyes. Eggs is also liquid meat because it's part of
Embryo.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And but then at that time, I was not very aware of the dairy, the milk from the cow, which later on, here in the United States, when I came 20 years ago, the the movement of quitting dairy products, I encountered. And studying forks over knives, which is I think everybody has seen the movie Forks Over Knives. The casein is actually glue. And if you don't burn it when you eat it, it can even cause cancer, breast cancer and all this. So, but with the yogic practice that I learned from my spiritual master at that age, at the age of 18, it was not recommended not to ingest milk in relation to the pranayama, because in my spiritual path I learned 6-7 lessons, different lessons of deep meditation, and the third lesson requires you to learn pranayama, which is breath control. And for 3 months you are advised to eat lots of fruits and dairy, milk, because the sensation within your body and your mind is you become very lightheaded, and milk product actually gives you a heavy sensation. And since I have become vegan when I decided to in the United States for probably like 5 years, I notice it when I fail a little bit and get tempted to eat some cheese or some mixed, milk in a product. I feel it in my brain. I feel like heavy. And then if I purposely eat cheese because of temptation, my stomach hurts. I suppose because I'm not used to it anymore. But let us go to why why it is important for human beings to understand that what they eat, contributes to your all-round well-being. Now, we don't just need solid food. I want you to imagine yourself at the coccyx. That's where you release your stool, your waste. That's the center of solid food in your body. You need solid food. And it is recommended that if your stomach is this much, you should masticate, you should chew half of that is from your solid food. But chew it enough. Don't hurry and eat like this. You chew it so that it gets mixed with your, the saliva, and then the digestive fluids will help it process it, so then it becomes digestible and useful. Then 1/4 of that portion of your stomach should be liquid, and then 1/4 of the rest of the 1/4 should be filled with air. That's why when you're eating, and the moment you say that means some air is trying to come out. So that's a sign for you to stop eating. Now, if you eat slowly and not in a hurry, that's why before you eat, you should wash up. You should cool your arms, cool your legs if you can. Cool your joints. Then your mind will calm down a little bit. And before you eat, you should close your eyes and see the divinity of the food that comes in your body. Because food is given by the Creator. You cannot create it. It's given to you to nourish the human being. Okay? So you see the divinity on the food. So before you eat, you close your eyes, take a deep breath and eat peacefully. That's what our beloved sister here, I am a being of peace. But in everything that we do, being of peace in everything that we do, not only in meditation, but like 24 hours 7, right? Okay, so the base, the coccyx, that's a solid food. Then what happens to the next, which is in the area of the gonads, the area of the urinary, that's where you excrete your urine, right? So you expel the liquid in your body. So you know that 85% of your body, or so, doctor, is liquid, right? During fasting days, the phase of the moon, the full moon, new moon, and 11 days after these moons, the gravitational pull of the moon attracts the liquid portion of the earth. That's why there's a high tide and a low tide. And then there's also high tide and low tide within the human body. So when you do fasting, either with liquid or without liquid, 24 hours, sunrise to the next sunrise, it helps your liquid portion of your body, the aqueous and the gaseous elements within your body, gets a little bit suppressed, you know, due to the fasting. So if you mind your almanac and see when is the full moon, when is the new moon, which is the dead moon, and 11 days after the full moon and the new moon, try not to eat if you can. You know, there are books that tells you how to fast, but I can also give you an advice how to do fasting because I've been doing it. I'm 62 years old now.
You don't look 62.
Inshallah. Voila. But anyway, so the liquid is in the urinary area. Now, what's the next chakra? What's the next psychic center? What's the next important center in the body? This one. The Muladhara was the base, the coccyx. Then the Swadhisthana. This is the Manipura. Manipura is the what? The center of heat in the body, temperature. That's why when your mama sees you that you're cold and the baby, they cover the navel point. When you're hot, you take off the cloth and you walk in the garden and you feel refreshed. So the center point of your body that controls the heat, temperature of your body is the Manipura chakra or the adrenal gland. Okay? So what is it? We also need the sunlight. We get 6 to 6, hopefully, in a normal area. So we don't only need solid food. We don't only need liquid food. We also need, can you imagine, without the sunrise, without the luminous element of the universe, we need heat. Yes? So don't think that just food is just the food that you eat 3 times a day or 4 times. Not more than that. Otherwise, it will be gluttony. So, then what is next? Higher to that is the thymus, Anahata chakra, which is the center of breathing, air. Inhale, exhale. The moment of death, what is happening? You exhale. This is very important. This chakra, this Anahata chakra, is that's the area where where you had the pranayama. Of course, there are different centers for concentration for pranayama, but air is also food. Not only solid, liquid, luminous, air is also food. So, air should be pure. You don't need cigarette for your existence. You don't need polluted air. So anybody who's polluting the air is doing something against humanity. The existence of humanity. Not only human beings, but all the living creatures. So pure air is food. Okay, what's next? Higher? Vishuddha chakra. There are 16 sounds in here. Can you imagine if you cannot speak? Can you imagine if you cannot utter, you cannot produce sound? So you also need sound. So that's also food. Food to the mind. You close your eyes and you meditate. You listen to some mantras or sound. Om Shanti, Om Shanti. Okay? If you don't hear sound, you go mad. Right? So there are 5 elements in the universe, which is also in your physical body. The ethereal element, the aerial element, the luminous element, the liquid, and the solid. But today, I want to mention certain things on the solid element. Okay? But our nourishment for our whole well-being does not end up in eating 3 times a day. So, there are 5 elements, basic elements in the universe, which is in our body. There are solid body. But there are 3 types of energies that are belligerent. Do you understand what's belligerent? Belligerent means they fight. So, 3 energies. I'm sure you know about this. Tama, Sattva, Raja, and Tama. Sattva means sentient, which is the highest, which is the most powerful. Raja means mutative. Okay, mutative is like, it's expressing itself. Thank you, Dada. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And then Tama is static. So let me just give an what you call it, a reference to, like for example, the static energy, which is tama, can be compared to a stagnant pool of water, like in a lake, full of mud. It doesn't move, right? It might ripple a little bit, but it's so full of mud, and it doesn't move hardly. But it also reflects the reflection of the moon into the water, right? So it has its purpose. Now, mutative, the Raja energy, Rajasic, it is also Rajasic, is, you can compare it to a waterfall. It's falling, so dynamic. You know, it's so alive, makes you hyper, like that. Now, Sattva, or sentient energy,
Is it a river flowing?
yeah, you can say that, but it makes you feel calm. Like it's in the depth, like you go to the ocean, and in the ocean, in the middle of the deep ocean, you hardly see any ripple, you don't see any ripple, but it's so deep. It's calm, as if it is calm and quiet. But, even though it is calm, it has the potentiality to express itself. You're quiet, but when you want to express yourself, yes, you can express. So these are belligerent energies, meaning like they're connected like a triangle. They're connected to each other. In a certain moment of time, the sentient or the sattva energy becomes raja, and the rajasic energy becomes tama. And it goes like that in a cycle, because life is a cycle. Conversion of energy. That is why what food is considered tama in one climate may not be tama. Like for example, if you eat chocolate in a very hot country, you sweat. But if you're eating chocolate in a cold climate, it gives you heat, it helps you heat up. Or say in a certain moment you need to drink some liquor in a cold place, in Alaska, and you don't have any other thing, and it hits you up. Then what happens to that? It becomes sattva. It's supposed to be tama because it deadens your nerves. Liquor, fermentation, and all that. Drink a little bit more liquor, then what happens? You lose your identity. You lose yourself. Another personality comes up. Right? You see somebody who's drunken, you see that the person is not the same anymore. Because it influences, just like drugs. Right? Well, drugs is a big issue, so I will not dwell on that right now. So, for example, deer meat. Deer meat. What is the nature of deer? Very sentient, very, very calm. So in a moment of your life is threatened that there's no food, maybe it's justified to eat deer meat because it's between life and death. Because of the nature of the source of the food that you eat. So, but basically the classification of foods in normal climate, like tropical climate and all this, are this.
So let me understand. So that deer meat that you were saying
becomes sentient.
Yeah, when it is a life and death situation. In today's world, do you think there's life and death situation? Can you clarify a little bit?
No. If you are living in America with abundance of food everywhere, right, and
that would then become tamasic, right?
Yes, in relation to taking the life of a creature that has a mind, developed mind.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we are all creatures, right? We have a developed mind. Developed mind with ego. We have very developed minds. Some are intelligent, some are super intelligent, some are genius, some are a little dull. They're in human body, but they don't sometimes act like human beings. Real human beings with developed mind. So, the food affects your mind. Your food affects your mind. If you eat food that has already developed mind, there's a conflict between your master ego, your master mind, and the food that you're eating. Because there's no amount of frying, there's no amount of freezing, there's no amount of cooking it. That's going to take away the vibration, how you kill the animal. The vibration, they feel the fear and all the anxiety when you kill the stress, when you kill the animal. And also, if you're a spiritualist, your compassion develops. You really cannot take the life of an animal because of your compassion. That's why people love animals. And they say, oh, okay, if you don't kill chickens, there'll be plenty of chickens in the world. How are you going to be able to control the population of chickens? Right?
Yeah.
So I have to eat chicken, fried chicken, and all that, or the pigs, so on and so forth. Okay, so why don't you eat earthworms too? Because the earthworms will dominate the whole planet. Right? Or the cockroaches. You don't eat the cockroaches, then now the whole world is going to be filled with cockroaches. Mother Nature, God, the creators, have so much wisdom. He knows how to balance things. We cannot, the human mind, to justify our ignorance, we just create some logic and reasoning, some camouflage, oh, we cannot do that because it will, we have to eat the meat, we have to kill. I am a superior being. So no, we have, a human being has to live with adjusting your individual flow, your inner self, with the cosmic will, with the universe. And you know it. Your spirit can tell you, I'm not doing right. I'm not doing this thing right. You'll feel it in your heart, isn't it? So really, if you really think about it as a human being, as a conscious human being, you cannot go and take and cut the neck of a chicken, or just hit the body of a pig, of a dog and eat the dog, or the cow. Even the cow. I like milk, but then even very extreme vegetarian spiritualists, they say the cow's milk is for the baby cow. It's not for human beings. Would you go under the cow with the sticks and then, I'm going to drink your milk because I can also drink you? If you really think about it, I'm not going to say that, be extreme, be fruitarian. Be a fruitarian. Just eat fruits. Because in the beginning of time, the nuts are falling down, the fruits are falling down. Be sensible, be rational. That is why Tama becomes Raja and Raja becomes... Sattva becomes Raja and Tama. So Raja becomes Tama. So it's a cycle. But in a modern country like America, you have plenty of sattvic food. You have plenty of fruits. Now, you also have to think, okay, I'm going to eat fruits and vegetables, but there's so much pesticides and fertilizers. That is why we really want to encourage ourselves to plant in our gardens, to produce produce locally. Produce with love, with no pesticides, organic. You don't have to buy organic, you can produce it. Here in Augusta, we have people who are producing it. And more people should be, in certain part of Augusta, there is this Harrisburg. Augusta locally grown have sponsored maybe 200 raised beds. They raise money and they put raised beds right in front of the people's homes. And then they ask them to grow kale, tomatoes, and the children are saying, yeah, I can grow my own vegetables. I can grow my own tomatoes and kale and arugula and lettuce and so on and so forth. So if there is an understanding, the ignorance is not there. Understanding, education is very important. So food in relation to human life, even if you're a yogi, even if you're a simple spiritualist, you have to discriminate what you eat. You cannot just eat because of wanting to eat. You know it very easily. When you eat fruits, makes you feel good. Smells good. You go to the market, smells good. You're attracted to the flowers. But when you go to the place where there's meat, all those cut meat smells. It smells. You're repugnant. You're repulsive. It's common sense. It's common sense.
Yeah, it looks all red. If you go to the vegetable market, there's so many different colors. It looks good to the eyes too.
Yeah, and a lot of people who eat meat, they live long. But if you live an ordinary life like that, without, the sentient food, the fruits and the vegetables, it allows you to actually experience your sentient nature, your peaceful nature. It doesn't cause stimulation, it doesn't make you hyper. So sentient food are the fruits and the vegetables and the grains and so on and so forth. But rajasic food, rajasic food or mutative food are tea, coffee, a lot of salt, a lot of sugar,
A lot of spices.
refined foods, which is really harmful.
Yeah, spices.
Very hot spices. Now, cucumber in the night is not good, it's cold. Yogurt in the night is not good, it's cold to the stomach. Banana, table banana eaten in the night, not cooked banana. Table banana eaten in the night, it's cold to the stomach. So it will interfere with your peaceful sleep. So that's mustard leaves. Is it mustard leaves? It's also, it's between Raja and Tama. So there are certain foods that even if they are plant, it has a certain effect on the brain waves. Stimulants. Onion and garlic. Just you cut the onion and the garlic, you start tearing up. Your eye starts tearing. Why? Because it's an herb. It's a very strong herb. They use it for medicine. You don't eat medicine every day. I'm sorry, I know the Indian culture, they will eat onion and garlic. But the Jain religion, they will not eat onion and garlic. Onion and garlic is very, very strong. It makes you hyper. Actually, when by mistake I eat onion and garlic in the food, I can understand it immediately, because when I sit and meditate, my mind's like, why is my mind jumpy?
Yeah.
Yes. It has a mutative and it has a tamasic mutative and a static effect in your mind, your brain neurons, in your nerves. So try to avoid onion and garlic. What else?
But thank you, Amy. That was very,
Yeah.
very helpful. No, this is fantastic. Most of the times, the Brahma Kumari's Raj Yoga meditation, you can hold, or I can keep it. It talks a lot about the types of foods to eat, and it's kind of nice to see a different, or listen to a different perspective. People who have been practicing a different type of meditation, and their understanding about these three, rasic, tamasic, and the sattvic food, and how this is what truth is. It is where across all cultures, if you go back into time, it kind of converges. All of it converges together. So this is amazing. We will have more time for discussion in a little bit. Now, I guess we can pause and listen and watch the videos, a couple of videos. These are very interesting ones. We talked about it. We definitely did not want to show any of the PETA movies.
I mean, like, it's a lot of violence. We try to make it like really, easy.
Easy. And honestly, I'll share my experiences in a little bit of my journey. But this one I had never seen before, the PETA ones, so which we are not showing. But it's brutal. It's just horrible. And most of the times, I think if you see it after 8 or 9 p.m., I don't think you can sleep very well at night. So it's like horrific, the videos. And so on one hand, I feel everybody should watch it, so that they at least get an idea of what is going on in the world, some degree of strength to our resolution is achieved, I guess, by watching those videos.
Yeah.
But not today.
No.
All right? And so,
That's the reason why the slaughterhouse has no glass walls.
yeah.
Yes, that's why they close everything up so nobody can see it.
Nobody can see. Anyways, thank you very much.
Okay,
Let's
thank
give them
you.
a great hand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should we take those away? Or?
Please. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, they're super light. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, hidden screen.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hidden only good things. A lot of hidden things here. And all good things. Next is... Where is Kanishta? I hope that we will have some time for for small group discussions, that's when people really open up. Let's see. Use your cell phone because then it becomes very easy. Mine is used for the Mevo.
What was it that you studied? What's the university you studied?
Raja di Raja.
Oh, sorry.
Raja di Raja.
Oh, Roger.
Oh yeah, you can go.
Healthy eating. Shall we do this first? Please, Michael? Shall
Yeah,
we?
this is the one with the circles?
Yeah.
Is the one? Okay, yeah.
Shall we?
It's like really easy.
It's very easy. It's a nice one.
It's short, but it's on the point.
Despite what you might be thinking, these two circles are not equal. I repeat, these two circles are not equal. One is in fact larger than the other. What I need you to do is determine which one that is. So, please raise your hand if you believe the blue circle is larger than the red. Alright. Please raise your hand if you believe the red circle is larger than the blue. Alright, very good. Now, before I said anything about these two circles, what was your first instinct? Equal, right? Because they look equal. And the reason why they look equal is because, in fact, they are equal. These two circles are identical. Yet I got just about every one of you to raise your hand and say that they're not. So what did we learn? That you can be manipulated like that to believe in something that goes against your natural instincts. Just imagine as a child you're taught that the blue circle is larger than the red. If you say it enough times, you convince yourself that's the truth. If you're told the lie enough times, it becomes part of your reality. And if enough people are taught that lie, that the blue circle is larger than the red, well, now it becomes part of the culture. And if that culture then passes that misinformation along to the next generation, now it becomes tradition. And what we have to remember is that just because we have a tradition doesn't mean it's morally acceptable. Tradition and morality are not always the same. I mean, can you think of any traditions that we once had in the United States of America that we no longer have? That today we think back and that was immoral? Slavery, right? Less than 200 years ago.
Lynching.
And that was a tradition. So the traditions we have today doesn't necessarily mean they're morally acceptable. And as we evolve as a culture, so do our traditions. Now, the Matrix is a story. It's a story. When told enough times to enough people, it becomes part of that culture. It becomes the tradition. And this story is being told over and over every day. In fact, if you believe the image on the carton is where you're getting your milk from, you're deceiving yourself. This is a fantasy. It only exists in your head. It's a blue pill fed to you by the industry to get you to buy their product. This is the Matrix, the lie we tell ourselves about where our food is coming from. The reality is far more disturbing. 90 to 95% of the milk, the meat, and the eggs that we consume in the United States are coming from these conditions. In fact, every year in the United States, 10 billion, right? 10 billion are being slaughtered for food. So what that works out to be is that every second in the United States, 300 animals are killed, just like that. So 300, 600, 900, 1,200. By the time I'm done talking today, there'll be over 1 million animals that have been slaughtered. And most of us don't even blink an eye. I mean, how is it possible that in the United States of America we can slaughter 300 animals every second and not question that? Because of the story we've been told. The story justifies the action. If you say it enough times, you actually convince yourself that's the truth. How many of you were taught as a child you need to eat meat to get protein? I know I was. How many of you were taught you need to drink cow's milk to get strong bones? Not dog milk, not chimpanzee milk, not elephant milk, not rhino milk, not hippo milk, not tiger milk, not lion milk, not giraffe milk, not elephant milk. Did I say that already? I think you get the point. Not even our own mother's milk, but we need to drink cow's milk to get strong bones. The absurdity of drinking the milk from any other species and any other being besides our own mother, when it's said enough times, loses its absurdness. Now, the first thing we've been taught is that our diet is natural. You know, we eat meat, dairy, and eggs, so therefore it must be natural. So let's find out. Now, you have two images on the wall. I want you to tell me all the thoughts that come to mind when you see the image on the left. And don't be afraid to scream now. What do you see? Fresh, yum, sweet, right? If I come into the room with a basket of strawberries, how many of your mouth starts to salivate? Your mouth starts to water? If I take a strawberry and I put it under your nose, what do you smell? If I take a knife and I slice that strawberry in half and put that under your nose, now what do you smell? Notice how all the sensations remain the same. You see a strawberry and it looks like a strawberry. You smell a strawberry and it smells like a strawberry. And you take a bite out of a strawberry and surprise, surprise, it tastes like a strawberry. Exactly, it's a strawberry. But what thoughts come to mind when you see the image on the right? Cute. You know, when I go to a classroom, you'll get half the kids who say, oh, cute. Animal, pig, Wilbur, babe. So half the class will see an animal, and the other half of the class will see bacon, sausage, ham, pig, sweet pork, and hot dog. They'll see a food. It's one or the other. You're either seeing an animal or you're seeing food. Now, what would happen if I took one of the pigs living, brought him into the room right here, and put him right in front of you? Does that change it? Now what do we see? And I mean, what would we think if one of us got up and started chewing on the pig? Not very normal. If I come into the room with a pig under my arm, how many of your mouth starts to salivate? Right? If I took a knife and I sliced that pig in half and put that under your nose, now what do you smell? You smell the stench of death. You smell a rotting corpse, bacteria, decomposing flesh. You see, there's a process involved, and I'm here today to show you that process of how you convert this animal into this product. Why should it be kept a secret? Why should we not know what we're participating in and what we're putting in our body? Now, let's make the situation slightly more realistic. If I were to put a pig on this side of the room, living, and a butcher's knife on the side of that room, I mean, how many people would be willing to pick up the knife and take the life of that animal? It's very rare, right? And if somebody did that, that's all right, but how many people in this room would try to stop that person from doing that? Right? Would we try that? Of course. That's compassion. I mean, that is the greatest quality of the human race. There's no other species on this planet that has that level of compassion to extend to all living beings. But if you would stop somebody from killing a pig in front of you and then go home and have this for breakfast, well, that's called hypocrisy. You know, just because it comes in a nice, neat package all dressed up in your supermarket, just because you didn't take the knife and shove it through their jugular, just because you didn't get blood on your clothes, and just because you didn't hear their screams doesn't mean you didn't participate in the killing. Every time we buy this product, we are supporting somebody else doing what we ourselves wouldn't want to do, what we ourselves wouldn't want to see, and what we ourselves wouldn't want to hear. Now, if you still see bacon, sausage, and ham when I bring a pig into the room, what happens when I change it? Oh, right. It's the common response. Now, I've never heard anybody say yum. Nobody ever sees dog feet, hot dog. So, why not? Why don't we see a food? We've been accustomed to view this animal as our pet. The cultural story for us is, this is your pet. In another culture, certain parts of the world, they eat cats and dogs. That's their culture. That's their story they've been told. How do we feel about that? A lot of people think it's disgusting. Right? And I imagine every one of you probably thinks it's disgusting to be a dog. Why would it be disgusting to eat this animal and not disgusting to eat this animal? Why would it be wrong to eat this animal and right to eat this animal? And most importantly, why would it be wrong to kill this animal and right to kill this animal? It's culture. It's the story. It's the matrix that we've been told. But culture is just a story. That's all it is. It's just make-believe. What I'm concerned with is what is natural to the human species. Because every culture has a different story. So let's take a 3-year-old from any country in the world, and you put that 3-year-old in a room, and you line up 5 animals in front of that 3-year-old. A pig, a dog, a cow, a cat, and a chicken. Do you think the 3-year-old is going to know which one to eat and which one to pet? What's the 3-year-old most likely going to do? Or try to do? Play with them all. It's going to try to play with them all. The 3-year-old has to be taught, no. Don't play with him. Eat him. Play with him. Pet him. That's what we were taught. We didn't choose our diet. Our diet is a learned behavior. We were raised to perceive this animal as your pet and this animal as your food. If you don't walk outside right now and you saw somebody taking a baseball bat to a dog's head, what would you do? You take action. At the very least, you'd call the police because you recognize that as a violation of this animal's right to be free from harm. Now, if you were to walk outside right now and you saw somebody taking a baseball bat to a pig's head, would your emotional response not be the exact same thing? Of course. Because the question for you is, what's the difference? What's the difference between the two? Right? Is there a difference? You might think one is cuter than the other, but that says more about you than anything about these two animals. A lot of kids will say, well, the nose looks different. I say, but they both got a nose to smell. Some kids will say, well, he's got hooves and he's got paws. I say they both got feet to walk and run. Some kids say, well, his ears are going up and his ears are flapping. They both got 2 ears to hear. They both got 2 eyes to see. They both got a heart to beat and a mind to think. And the reason why we would take action for both of them is because we recognize the equality between them and not the difference. Any difference is insignificant. The similarities, though, are striking. We know they're equal, yet every time we sit down for a meal, we create that separation. We create that inequality.
Wonderful.
All right. So that's done. All right, so shall we go directly to the second one quickly?
It's a very quick one to show like
The
numbers,
difference.
more about numbers.
All right. So thank you, Baghdad, for supplying these videos.
You're welcome. There are a bunch of more online if you guys interested, like to go deep in this topic. There are a lot of more movies, but this is kind of like very easy point to like just to start with.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kanish, Yuraka, you going up to take care of things? If so, I was thinking of you coming too for a little bit.
Going to do some group discussion or something?
Want to do group discussion followed by?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever.
All right.
We plan that way, right?
Yeah, but I don't think there's much time.
Anybody is in rush?
Everybody. Yeah. Right. So, I guess we can do the group discussion another time. And so we will have you. I'll have you. You can sit. But if you have any thoughts so far, it looks like the mic is not working. Yeah, you had some thoughts. You wanted to go up again.
Yeah.
So I can. So you go ahead, and I will take care of this for now. So, any thoughts? Any ideas? Any new insights? Any new resolutions? Any new change of hearts?
I think that little video, the last one, I thought was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because I think it's great to explain to people that the difference with the iron and the black
Yeah.
beans. I didn't even realize it was that much of a difference.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
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 Because what is what we've been told, like you need a protein, you have to have a meat, you have to have this. They're really bodybuilders. They have a muscles. They competed on the stage. They have a more muscles than normal meat eater. It's just like your choice. If you focus on the right amount of portion of protein, you can have it from plants, from beans, from chickpeas, or like anything that lenses. There's so many like other replacement, and they help you for you. It just left you don't just don't know about it because you know only like the one portion of the entire spectrum you can choose from. And there are animals like gorillas. strongest animal in the jungle. He is vegan. He eats plants.
Elephant.
Elephants, giraffes, all the animals, they have so much muscle, they're so strong. They don't eat meat. It's not, oh, the lion eat meat, he's strong. But hey, gorilla eat plants.
Actually,
he's
lion
strong
is
too.
not the strongest, right?
Yeah, but
And we
lion,
need
yeah,
to-
but
yeah.
the lion eat one animal and in a couple weeks and he's done. He doesn't kill 20 just to
Yeah.
satisfy himself.
Yeah,
He just
so
eat
true.
the weak one.
Yeah.
It's natural selection.
Actually, you can go into more videos of how our body is not really designed to eat meat and animal products. It's more designed for vegetables and.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You're a doctor, right?
Yeah.
I was told that.
Sometimes, please.
I was told by a dietitian that 0.35 multiplied by your weight. That's not, say for example, you have 100 pounds, 0.35. So you need, for the day, you need only 35 grams of protein. If you ingest more than 35 grams, you're going to develop osteoporosis, overload of protein. So, an avocado is like 7 grams.
Sure.
Like 3 pieces of potatoes is like 7-8 grams. A glass of soy milk is like 7. You know, it's the difference of 1 gram with a glass of milk. So if you Google how many grams you're getting from the food that you're eating, like a cup of
True.
peanuts
Yeah.
or beans,
And
is
that's-
15
Yeah.
grams of protein already.
There's so many
Yeah.
people don't know about
So
that.
so if you are overeating, you are
That's not good
causing
either.
arthritis and so on and so forth in your body. So really information is very important. And nowadays it's very easy. Google, just Google.
I agree with you actually.
Just one
Yes.
suggestion: if somebody has an issue with all this, how many proteins is this? How many has that? There are like simple apps you can download on your phone. For example, my Net Diary, it's for free, and you just basically scan each product and it can count down how many proteins already have. You just have to put, I eat 1 cup of almonds, and already show you how many proteins you have been intaken. So you can like even control it. That's how
Sure.
the fitness people and bodybuilder, that's how they
Yeah.
control the amount of the intake they have, like how many carbs, how many fats, and how many protein they're taking. So calculating it's hard for somebody in the beginning, but with help of the apps, you
Yeah.
just scan the product and it's counting for you. So
Or just
Yeah.
Google.
yeah,
From
Because
medical
after
point of
occupying
view
your
too,
phone,
yeah.
actually what we have seen, there's a process called as gluconeogenesis, which means that new glucose is produced by the body when we have excessive protein. Or if we don't have food for several days, body needs glucose. So it starts consuming its own protein
Muscles.
from muscle, and that's called as gluconeogenesis. So excessive protein is also going to create glucose, which is also going to then convert into fat, and it's going to line up your arteries. So it's not good. That's one thing. The second thing I wanted to share, which we have shared before too, that the animal protein is more difficult to digest. So even if you take exact amount of protein of animal, exact amount of protein of plant, the plant protein will be absorbed much more. So effectively you are receiving much more from the plant. Well, I just wanted to take a few minutes to share my own personal story that I was not a vegetarian before I started my meditation practice. Back in India, we don't have exposure to this much of information that's available now. But for us, when we started this meditation practice, I liked what you said, the word which always comes in my mind is compassion. So any food that causes pain, suffering, harm to other creatures who have a right to live just like you and us, cannot give us happiness. The number one thing what people are now finding out that actually when we, this is new, this is real new stuff. Researchers are finding out that the same food can affect different people differently. So for example, if you eat ice cream, another person eats ice cream, the amount of sugar increase in the body is different for both. In fact, they found that for some people, paradoxically, eating a sugar food may decrease their sugar and vice versa. So they are now at this point trying to understand if the answers lie in the genetics. So maybe some people's genetic makeup is different from others, so they process food differently. That's one thing. But, however, if you understand deeply, the genetic material, the expression of our genetic material depends on the energy of the cells, because the genetic material lies in the cells. And where does the energy from the cells, or where is the energy received by the cells? From us, the living energy. You see? Now, if you look at this Curlian photography, has anybody heard of that? They talk about the auras.
Yeah.
They are now trying to figure out, of course, there's one whole thing about the photography of Curlian photography of plants and so on and so forth. But they are also finding in the cells, the human cells, individual cells, they have an aura. Each cell has its own aura. It has its own field of energy. And what is that field of energy? It's our conscious energy it's a vibration energy. Conscious energy is the soul energy that then goes into each of the cells, keeps it alive. Right? So, based on what brings different emotions in us, which changes our energy, the cell's function changes as well. So if you are not happy,
Something is wrong.
good, of course, yeah, absolutely. So if you are not happy, your individual cells will not function either. You see, when we consume food that has been slaughtered, where there is pain, there is suffering, when we consume that, we won't be happy. Now, as soon as we are not happy, each cell of our body, our entire intestines, the lining of the intestines, will also not be happy. So everything that you eat after that is not going to be digested anyways.
But also the way you prepare the food, if you prepare it with love.
Good.
But if you're like erratic, like, oh, I'm so erratic, that also disturbs the vibrational content of the food that you eat.
Exactly. Thank you. We have been sharing that in the several sessions. So I appreciate your reiterating that, and it's coming from another perspective, another person than us. That's excellent. Thank you very much for reiterating that. So that's why we always inspire in Raj Yoga meditation to prepare our own food. One of the other things that we are now beginning to understand, one of the things that you said something which was very similar to what I have understood, but I can't remember exactly, because at that time it was like aha, but maybe I'll catch up to it in a moment. But the food we absorb, the amount that gets absorbed, the nutrients that get absorbed, depends on how much is the resonance, if you will, of the vibrations within you and the vibrations in the food. So you were sharing that too, right? The animal vibration versus plant vibration, something like
The
that.
anxiety, the stress.
The anxiety,
no
yes,
amount of pride.
Right. So now, forget about now, everybody has understood that tamasic food is something which for sure we will contemplate, hopefully, of not consuming, and Rajsi as well. But think about even plant-based diet. You are eating fruits and vegetables and so on and so forth. You cook your tofu or whatever. Now you look at whether you cook your own vegetables versus you just buy it by calling the restaurant. Now see what happens here. Of course, we have always shared that, and whoever has come here in the past sessions, you would know that I would be talking about the energy that the person has put in while they have prepared. So if they are putting in negative energy, that energy goes into the food, and then this Curlian photography has now captured all of it. What energy gets transmitted, because our aura, if it is negative, goes to the food, and that food we consume, because now that aura, that negative aura, is going into us. It fills us with negative aura too. But now, more importantly, what I'm trying to understand now, what I have understood over years, is that the more connection you have with the food, the more time you spend with the food before it even reaches your plate, if you will, the more your vibration energy will resonate with that. The energy, the vibrations will be the same. So, say for example, you prepare, you sow the seeds and you water it every day. You're spending that much time. You put nutrients with it into it. So several days have passed, several weeks, several months. Then you take it out, you wash it, all right, and then you cut it, and then you put it in there, and you are stirring it. You're putting different nutrients into it, all right. And then what we always share is taking that moment, a few moments, to thank God, to thank the universe.
Ascribing that good.
Yes, so which I appreciate your sharing. And that way you are spending more time with it. Now think of it. All right, so you could not sow your seeds for the vegetables, you could not grow them, that's fine. Say if you go to the supermarket, you take the time to choose the right vegetables, or you go to the, better still, to the local grown. You know, now think of it, local grown is not too far. Your aura going to that. So you see how the vibrational energy is getting closer, right? You see, it's same. So that's why local grown is important. But even if you get it from, say, supermarket, now you have spent time choosing it. You take it to the cashier, you pay it, you take it, bring it in the car home, you put it in the refrigerator, you take it out, you chop it, you cook it. Even that helps in bringing the energy closer. That's why, you know, most of the times back in India, most men don't cook, right? It's the women who cook. And that's why men die of heart attacks earlier than women, you know. You see, men get sicker much quicker than women. Agreed?
Yeah.
See, back in India, 99%, you will find much more widows than widowers. Clearly. I mean, statistics are sure. Why? Men don't want to even cook anything. The maximum that men will do is make a tea for themselves, right? That's the maximum. But why now it is important that we spend time with the whole process, I guess the battery died, of preparing food, cooking food, and then consuming food. Yeah, sure.
There's one more point now. Very meticulous practitioners of natural health go also to live food and dead food. If you try and check fullyrawchristina.com, she will teach you how to prepare. She's been like 10, 11 years a raw foodist. She will not eat anything that has destroyed the enzymes. It's all live food, not cooked food. So if you go even higher than that, and if you're like a live food eater or a raw foodist, your eyes sparkle on your skin. You have no problem with blood, you know, with your blood work in it. Very, very healthy. Of course, I'm not saying that you become 100% raw foodist, but maybe 65%, 70% raw food.
Thank you.
Vegetables and raw salads and fruits, and there's so many ways. Sprout the grains and
Sure.
make it.
Yeah, thank you. I
Even
appreciate it.
our nature is three, Rajas, Tamas.
Mhm.
So the food we eat, which is not suitable to our nature, will contradict again.
Correct.
So they say that you choose the food which is to your nature.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with the raw eating, there's something about it. I've been always told the longer you cook something, the more nutrition you're using into the water. And what you do, you sip the water in the sink and you just keep the potatoes, right? I'm like, every nutrition you cook in it is in the water.
True.
You just sip it out and you have
True.
just like the leftovers. So
True.
my mom always said that if you cook too much, you overcook it. It's the nutrients are gone.
True. So
You just have to be careful with the pesticides and the fertilizers, of course, if you eat raw.
yeah. But at least the most important thing is that your consciousness while you are
Yeah, awareness.
preparing food,
That's why you say made with love.
made with love,
Tastes good.
yes. So spend enough time if you can from now onwards looking at food from a different perspective. As you know, most of the times we just eat food to live, which is okay too. There's nothing wrong with that. But at least take some time more It's a very important part of life, and it is a very important part of the spiritual growth for all of us. So if you aspire for spiritual stability, spiritual peace of mind, a healthy mind, then you have to be careful of the food you eat. All right. Any questions? Any thoughts? That's it. Hmm. There was one more thought that I had. I can't remember. I had noted it down. Maybe let's see if I can remember. One second. If I can find it. Kanisha, why don't you take over?
Yes.
सबको दे दो पहले.
Okay,
I'll give it to everyone.
sure.
I'm doing some meditation.
Yeah, I'd written somewhere some points that I wanted to take up. I can't remember. Anyways, all right, wonderful. Now I'll request Kanishka to come up, and she's going to distribute bowls filled with some food for some experience, a live experience of practice of mindful eating or soulful eating, if you will. So it's some fruits.
Can I help you?
Sure. Yeah. And but don't start right away. She's going to take us through an exercise.
How about leftover food? That will give some different thought or something.
Sure. Leftover food, actually, they talk about is Rajsi food, you know, and when it is left for a very long period of time, it becomes tamasic, so it becomes stale. So, so it should be fresh
every day.
as much as possible. Mm,
It's very important.
It's very
It's very
important.
I can pass by actually. Here we go.
I can tell you one simple experience for myself, that when I used to eat meats, I honestly had not experienced peace. I don't remember before, because no, yeah, thank you. The time, thank you. From childhood till learning this meditation, if I look back, I don't remember a day of peace. You know, because of I was an ardent meat eater, and it was it for Kanishka. The transformation was very easy because she didn't eat any of these tamasic foods anyways, right from childhood. But for me, it was a big leap, to change my habits, to change my diet so drastically. But for me now, going back to anything other than this food is unthinkable, unimaginable. The peace that I have experienced, the strength that I have experienced, the energy that comes by consuming pure food, natural food, is tremendous. So I inspire all of you, those of you who don't, to experiment for yourself. Please don't take anything on face value so far, whatever you have heard. If you want to, please do take, but you don't necessarily have to. We don't want to come across as these are dogmas of spirituality or anything like that. But check it out. I say at least 10 days of going to plant-based diet. Experiment with it. Prepare your own food. Prepare your own food for 10 days and see the difference. See how you feel in the morning. See how you feel when you go to bed. See how you feel when you talk to people, the peace, the calmness that you'll experience in interactions with people. People will begin to see a difference in you. They will tell that your eyes are sparkling, your face looks happier. They will, and it's not, the contact lenses type of, sparkle. Vijay, it will be a natural spark of
Aura.
the or yeah, it will. Yeah, they will feel it. So I inspire you to explore it for yourself. With that, I'm going to give it to finished.
I don't want you to wait too long to eat. So we heard so much about food, so I thought that maybe we can do at least some experiential meditation. That is actually, people they call it as mindful eating. So anybody who is aware of mindful eating, most of you are aware of mindful
Yeah,
eating.
mindfulness has become a buzzword.
Right.
Right.
So mindful eating, it covers how to eat, what to eat, how much to eat, why to eat,
When to eat.
when to eat. So these are all the things that mindful
Thank
eating covers actually. Because human beings are the only species who eat
When they are not hungry.
even though they are not hungry. If we think about it, animals, they eat only when they are hungry.
You know that term they say stuff your face? People really do that, right? We do that, right? It's,
And what I want to say too, there are no overweight animals at all.
Yeah.
I
The
say
only
that.
animals that are overweight, they're domestic cats and dogs. Because
Exactly.
people feed them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
shared that in the
no
last
overweight
time.
animals in entire nature.
Yeah. They don't have jibs. They don't have gold jibs. You never see them on the
There's no
treadmill.
overweight.
Yes.
Even elephants, they're not overweight. They're just
Yeah.
they're just normal.
Right.
So it's very important for us, even when we start to eat, we should ask ourselves, do I really need to eat? Am I really hungry at this moment? Am I eating because of hunger, or am I eating because of something else? Emotional problem people they face, when they are under depression, then they just keep eating and eating and eating. So it's very important for us to ask ourselves this question. And then how we are eating. I think some of you, one of the panelists, like I think Emmy she suggested that you should chew properly, right? So chewing is very important. How you are eating the food, that matters.
Chewing is now you're spending more time with the food. So at least your vibrations,
Right.
begin to.
Right. So when you're chewing, it is said that you are what you eat, right? But there is little modification in this phrase. Nowadays, what people are saying, scientists are saying, that you are what you digest. Because you can digest only when you chew the food properly, right? Otherwise, even if you are taking the food, if it is not digested properly, then doesn't make sense. You are just taking in, but without, So, how you're eating, and at the same time, what is the environment when you eat, then what is the outside environment? What activity you are doing at the time of eating? What you are doing? Are you fully focused in eating, or you are
Cell phone.
with your best friend nowadays? Cell phone is the best friend. You invite your cell phone to be with you. Instead of remembering God at that time, instead of inviting God at the time of eating, we invite the cell phones.
Most of the cell phones have food stains on it, so you feel it, right?
But we are watching TV also.
Yeah, so watching television, because when you're watching television, your attention gets diverted. So if your attention gets diverted, then you're not paying attention to chewing. So when you're not chewing properly, again, the enzymes will not be secreted, digestive enzymes. The moment we start to chew, salivation happens, and that causes digestive enzymes to secrete, and those enzymes actually help us with the digestion process. But if your attention is diverted somewhere else, then it is said that, if you are watching the television while you eat, so you are feeding the television instead of feeding your body. Television will eat everything, whatever you want to eat.
You don't focus on the taste.
Exactly.
True.
That's another important thing. When you are eating, you have to focus on all,
The
Flavor
taste.
and the taste and the structure.
exactly, all the senses. The more senses are involved, the more enzymes will be secreted.
And be gratitude to person who has prepared.
Yeah. So
Just
gratitude.
don't eat it and go away.
Yeah. So that is why when you see the food, take a moment. That is why I have given you this. Not to just eat just like that, but
To wait for it.
take a moment and express your gratitude towards nature, towards the person who has prepared the food, towards all people who are involved
Yeah.
in bringing that food to your plate,
Yeah.
including,
Farmer.
the farmer, the production people, the people who packaged it, people who brought the food in the Walmart or the grocery store, wherever. It's a whole, there is it's a line, whole chain, right? So we have to thank everyone. And most importantly, we have to thank God. Very beautifully, Amy said that you see the divinity in the food. This food is sitting in front of you only because God has provided you, the Creator has provided you the food. That is why the food is
There.
I used to, this is little off, but I was sick and had to be treated. And I thank God every day that God, thank you right from the person who made the medicine to make me feel better, to the janitors, to the nurses, to the doctors, everybody. Without them, I wouldn't have recovered.
yeah. Very nice. So see
even
when
the
you
janitors,
when
even
you-
everybody,
yeah.
you can't forget them.
So when you think
The
about
chemist.
when you think about so many people, you express your gratitude, then there is release of good chemicals in
Yeah.
your body that makes you healthy and happy. And it is said that happiness is the best nourishment for your mind and for your body. So we heard about the sattvic food also. So basically, my understanding about the sattvic food, she very beautifully explained the fresh food is the sattvic food. But if we look at this word sattvic, the initial part of this word sat means 7. Sat is the Hindi word for 7. So there are 7 spiritual energies in that food. It's not that sattvic food is only the fresh food or fresh vegetables, but real sattvic food is that food which has 7 spiritual energies that we talk about in Raja Yoga meditation. So when we eat the food with this awareness that the being, the soul, is the one who is eating this food using the physical body. The moment I become aware of that spiritual energy and also remember God, because God is the highest spiritual energy. So the moment I remember, I kind of invoke, the spiritual energies to flow into my system. And that actually makes the food sattvic. So how you are preparing, the food, the sattvic food, it's not about just eating, but it is about how you are preparing the food.
I shared that yesterday. I shared all of it.
Shared? Okay. So prepare with soul consciousness, eat with soul consciousness, and even before eating, one of the things that we do here in this meditation practice is offering it to God. So offer it to God. When we are offering it to God, we are remembering God. So we are remembering God and we are putting in more and more spiritual energy into that food. So that food becomes pure food, sattvic food. So that is what we are going to do now in this meditation. So we will sit with this awareness that the food that I have in my hand, the food that, I want you to see the food, so please don't turn off the lights, okay? So please look at the food that you have in front of you and express your gratitude to the Mother Nature and to all the people who are involved in bringing this food to you. Also take a moment to thank your body, because without this body you cannot enjoy this food. And most importantly, express your gratitude to God, that divine energy, the Creator. And now you can start eating, but eat with slow motion. Very slowly and chew it properly.
Thank you too.
So now your vibrations are same, right?
And with this awareness that I, the soul, am eating this food. And if you bring that soul consciousness, I'm using this body to eat, but who am I? I am the soul, the being. It is the being who is using the tongue to taste this food. I, the being, am the one who is smelling this food. So use all your 5 senses. Your touch, your ears also. You hear the crunchiness of the food. So enjoy and eat slowly, and you will see, this food will fill your tummy. Even though it is little, but if you eat with this awareness, this consciousness, you will be full. You don't need a lot of food. You need a lot of food only when you are sitting in front of television. Because then you don't know what you are eating. So you keep eating, keep eating, keep eating. Right?
So feel as if the vibrations, your vibrations, and the vibrations of this have become equal, right? You have been holding it for quite a while. At least they are getting closer. You didn't grow them, you didn't get it from the market, you didn't peel them, you didn't wash them, you didn't bring it here in front of you. But at least you held it for 15 minutes, 10 minutes. So you're closer now to its vibration. So you will feel automatically that it will absorb much better.
And enjoy the taste.
Sweet.
What about you?
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll eat later. I cannot speak and eat both things together. That is another thing. If you eat in silence, that is the best way to eat the food. That is the best way to digest the food. So eat in silence. Because when your mind is in silence, that time it's like you release that spiritual energy. Because only in silence the spiritual energy is it gets opened up. You feel the peace flowing in your body. You feel the love. So the 7 energies that I was talking about, the first one is the peace. Soul is peaceful. Second is soul is loving. Third is
Divine.
soul is divine. The soul is full with divinity. But these are the 7 spiritual energies.
Which create the divinity.
Yeah. So soul is peaceful, soul is loving, soul is happy, soul is pure, soul is wise, soul is
Powerful
and soul is blissful.
and knowledgeable.
Blissful, wise, I said wise.
Oh,
Wisdom is knowledge. So the 7 energies, if you put those 7 energies into the food will be highly energized. Highly energized food is the sattvic food.
When you say you put those energies in the food, does it mean when you are preparing?
Yeah. So
Or even when you're eating.
even while you're shopping,
Yeah.
at that time also, if you're aware,
Mm-hmm.
if you're aware of the energy, the spiritual energy,
Thank you.
so right from the shopping, you should start. The time of buying the vegetables, the soul consciousness, you're feeling good about, wow, such a fresh vegetable. The moment you see the freshness in the vegetables, you
Yes.
feel so good.
Sherry too.
Alright. So now you all will be happy and healthy. Actually, it will help me a lot because I'm tired of taking care of patients. Right? You agree, Karen? It's just mind-boggling. It's just mind-boggling. In the middle of the night, when I'm on call and there's a heart attack and I have to go and take care of the patient for the whole night, it disrupts my sleep. And I can't meditate the next day. So please, for my sake, take care of your health. Eat healthy, eat sattvic. Take care of me, please.
You're a cardiologist?
I'm a cardiac anesthesiologist.
Okay.
So the surgery is a simple, normal heart surgery is anywhere between 6 to 8 hours. And if it starts at 12 o'clock in the night, it goes on till 8 a.m.
8 in the morning.
So my sleep is gone, my health is gone. So please for my sake, Thank you anyways. Om Shanti. Let's give a big hand to, of course, our panelists, Amy and Magda and Tanisha for taking us through the meditation. I didn't do anything. I was just hosting. Yes, wonderful. Om Shanti.
But you actually wanted this talk to happen, right?
Yeah, it was a desire to do
You
this.
was really wanting this talk to happen for a long time. The past 3 weeks you've been planning, right?
Right, but actually we didn't send the invitation out till 2 days back. But I'm glad that it's a good turnout. Om Shanti.
And next weekend also we will have some special program, right?
Yeah.
We plan.
So stay tuned. We'll send you the information. Right. Most of the times it's last minute, but next Sunday evening, 6 to 8 p.m. or 6 to 7:30 p.m. we'll have something for sure. Hasmukh bhai, chalo. Go.
Om Shanti. We'll take leave from you all as well.
Saturday or Sunday? Next.
Sunday evening, just like we have every time.
I'm not here, maybe somewhere else, but I have a feeling I've seen you somewhere before.
Okay.
I don't eat legumes. Don't eat any legumes. So but you said that proteins are in avocados and yes. I think in everything.
In everything, yes. Like I have one list on my refrigerator, how many grams and what, you have the proteins, and I go always after it. But